a warm welcome in today's world where many of you might not have moved out from your home for, I think, few days already, especially in some cities in India. So wish you good health and stay safe. In today's world, we are talking about the testing in Agile world. This is different than the Corona testing which is going on right now. We're not talking about RT-PCR and other stuff, but more focus on the testing. It's very important aspect, right? Without which you cannot move forward. I still remember when I was in BMC, and then as a development manager, my first release was, I would say, worst. In the first 15 days, we had received around 75 incidents. So the BMC in that one, we had around 2,500 customers and many partners were involved. So they provided us the feedback that whatever the product we had released, what all was not working or what all was broken. And we had to release actually a couple of patches in next 1 month. But we learned a lot from that one. And probably what was missing in that part was not adhering to the way the testing should be done in the Agile world. And I'm going to talk about that in today's session, that how did we overcome that one, that the next release which we had was one of the best release in the history of that product. So thank you again for joining this session. I'm Rahul Shah, Agile coach and trainer. And I think we already have discussed multiple times, but yeah, I think lockdown is also providing good opportunity to focus on other than work activities, and I'm continuing doing that as well. We also have Vijay. We know him. Vijay, do you want to talk about anything on this one? You are on mute.
Not really. We would like to just move on and go to the main topic.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we are going to cover today? Testing we know, right? Then what is the difference between Agile testing? Testing normally would be similar, what we have done in the Waterfall as well. Then how it differs in the Agile? Probably we all know this topic, but I would like to provide some insights into this one, some thinking points for this one that we should be taking from this session today. What is the mindset we should be having when we say we are into testing the Agile projects and other stuff? We will talk brief about shift left testing, and let's discuss the real world challenges. I have not put any challenges in here itself. I'm sure going to cover some of them during my talk, but let's focus on this one. Something to smile about. Yeah, we know this situation, right? Until the latest code is upgraded or the environment upgraded or something, it is working on my environment, on my machine, on dev environment, but it's not working something. Very common, right? So let's look at it. What is testing? Testing is a method to check whether the actual software matches the expected requirements and it's a defect free. When we say defect free, very common, right? Bugs or defects. So let me ask you, what is a defect? Because testing and defects or bugs, very much interrelated, right? Is the two sides of one coin, we can say. So what do you think? What is defect? How do you define a defect?
Any non-conformance to requirements?
Yeah. Non-conformance to requirement. Yeah. Very good, Satya.
Any undesired, unexpected, or not required behavior. I mean, even if it is not mentioned in the requirement, anything that is not required, not expected, or what I don't want.
Yeah, wonderful.
Can we say the gold-plated things are the defects in that fashion?
Not sure.
Even I don't know. I thought I'll just put it here just to discuss, because a lot of time we see that the customer doesn't expect, but we as a mindset will say that probably customer may feel this is required, but this is apart from the requirement. So a thought of asking here.
Mhm.
No, that cannot be considered as a requirement. Today it may
Yeah,
not be,
I don't
tomorrow
think
it's
so.
considered to be requirement, but that is not a defect.
Yeah, gold-plated thing is extra thing we are delivering it. Okay.
Overproducing,
Yes,
of the
yes.
Muda process.
Overproducing,
Yeah.
overprocessing, something
Yeah.
like.
Ravi said it extra. I would like to put it as waste. So I think that's a very good word. Gold plating calling extra. I would like it to be called as waste.
Muda process.
Yes.
Okay.
Muda. Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't know whether you are getting the return on that investment. And I like
Customer
what
is happy,
Vijay just now
but
mentioned,
we are
right?
not getting a revenue.
Yeah,
Customer is going to be happy, but we are not getting the revenue of putting something more.
yeah,
That can be, we can say there is a gold plating.
Oh yeah.
yeah. Or
Yes.
even something, a very simple example, right? That customer is looking for something like which should fit in a box, and then we are providing extra, I mean gold plated. But now, because we have provided extra, that won't fit into the box which customer is having. So though we have provided extra, but as Vijay mentioned, right, something that is not desirable. Though everybody feels that okay, we want to provide added value to this one, but might not be. So more focus should be what is conformance to requirement, and at the same time, which is undesirable. Something like a simple NFRs, right? Many of the NFRs will fall into
Yeah, those are,
undesirable.
yes.
So as also Ravi said, extra that increases the flab of your software, and that might be unnecessary.
Yes, you are right.
Very true. Now, if defect is not what we want, right? Let's look at the some of the research report, what it says. Like in the normal SDLC life cycle, right? When we do coding, design, architect, coding, building, QA, some verifications, and then production. But if something is not desirable, something extra or something, right? Even we will have to spend extra money to verify those extra things as well. So I think it's a kind of a waste. We focus on the prioritized requirement, which is given to customer as early as possible, and then we await feedback. If you do something extra, you are delaying feedback. Might be customer is waiting for, okay, show me something, and then I will give you a new requirement, but we have built something extra. So many things will be there. But just look at the number of the cost, which is getting increased exponentially when the defect is captured. Even if you, there are some other data, which is not in this slide, but when a customer is calling help desk, support people, the first call, if it is costing you $1, if the issue is not resolved there, the second call will 5 times more than that one. And if it is not resolved and escalated, right, again it will increase by 5 times more. And if it comes to development, it's exponential cost to the. That's why if you look at it, many companies now are targeting, there are two things, right? RTB, run the bank, and change the bank, whatever we want to do. So they are looking at the ratio. Okay, what we are building new with respect to what we are fixing and spending time there. If we are building right first time, then certainly we will be much more happy. Like the example which I gave you, right? That, in the BMC software when I was there, and then we figured out that we had a QA team, everything was there, but somehow we're not able to capture the main, what we can say, the scenarios which customers are using. We had done the Pareto analysis as well. We had identified, okay, these three are the areas which customer, the features which customers are using the most. But what we did was we prioritize our features with respect to those three areas. And we were good on that one. However, in terms of verifying and other stuff, we were not good. Then the retrospective starts, right? What we are doing and why this happened and other stuff. And you will be surprised, at that time we had a separate dedicated automation team. But now when I look, or at that time when we looked at it, initially we found, oh wow, good, we had a dedicated team. And they are doing dedicated testing after everything is done, kind of this one, after the basic verifications and everything, test cases has been verified and a manual testing has been completed. But probably that was the root cause. We had around 2000 test cases, but surprisingly, they were not able to capture what we were looking for. And we had to release 2 patches actually in 1 month of time. So what was missing there? The quality of test cases, silos were there. The test cases were executed at the end of the project. The test cases were not reviewed. The new test cases were not added because of whatever reasons. So all that actually caused us, okay, what we did was we said, okay, these test cases are of no good, no use. We had 2,500 customers, right? We looked at the historical data. Whenever a customer had requested a hot fix, a patch was requested, he said, let's automate all those test cases. Combine different scenarios in one test case and run it daily. And then we achieved something which was one of the best release in this one. Okay, so some questions to ponder upon. When you say, what is the difference between waterfall or SDFC lifecycle and the agile testing? What do you think? Where we are missing out?
I think in waterfall testing will be done in the end once the product is built. But in Agile, I think each and every sprint will do the testing. So
Okay,
the defect will reach the production will be very less and there will be a cost saving.
correct. Yeah, the cost of defect, we will be able to capture the defects
Yeah.
early. Yeah, Tema Kumar, that's true.
Immediately. Yeah.
It's a cross-functional, Rahul.
Hmm.
So development team will develop, and the testing team will also support at the time of development. They will not sit idle. They will be creating test cases or test scenarios, test plan, everything will be done. When testing team is about the testing, development team will also share their support, such a way that it's a collaborative effort. Make sure that it's a combination of both development team and the testing team work towards and achieving the business goal.
Correct. Yeah, they talk to each other, right? Probably in the waterfall way of working, there were not much talking happening between
Disconnect exists,
developers and testers.
collaboration exists.
Yeah, so one thing I would certainly would like to highlight this one is, if you look at the Scrum guide, there are no role as pure developer and testers. We call everyone developer. Right? They should be able to complete everything. However, in the that is a very ideal case, and then we might not have seen, or very few scenario, few cases, few companies are following that one. I think Bank of New York Mellon, right? Vijay, you were saying that they had started moving forward.
Even in Siemens right now, I'm coaching. We have at least 3 teams, 3 big product teams. We don't really have testers.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really call them testers. They are the developers who has the capability of testing, and that's what they do.
Correct. Yeah. So Vijay certainly would be helping us on answering some of the questions on this one. So when should testers get involved? In the
I think I see some answer
cycle?
on the face of Ravi. Ravi's face, I see some answer. Yeah.
From the very beginning. Okay.
Yeah.
Starting from the requirement perspective, the tester should see, okay, what actually it should be. So from the very beginning, he should be involved.
So Rahul, I see even before the developer is involved, I would like to involve tester.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. that would refine my requirements in a way a tester sees from his perspective how would it be tested. So that would reduce a lot of flab in the software.
And he should also get a view from the requirement or perspective, what actually this test is. And then he
Yeah.
will come out with different questions, and he can ask questions and he can refine. Okay, working together, will come out with a different kind of a test cases, how it will be to make the system robust. Okay, and the delay.
Yeah.
So
I
what
agree with
Vivek
Ravi.
is
Yeah.
absolutely right. Normally, people will intend to go for TDD approach.
Yes.
So first development, then testing. First write test cases, let that fail. Then red, green, refactor. That is what the approach is all about.
So normally
So,
TDD is done by when we say the TDD approach, right? That one is more focused on the developers writing the
Yeah.
TDD. Correct. That could be. Okay.
But if we actually see the way we write requirement these days, the user story format, we also have to come out with something called as the acceptance tests or acceptance criteria. What is actually acceptance criteria? You're looking requirement from the eyes of a tester. Yeah, I mean, these days, Karupia is also saying that TDD, the test-driven development, and Rahul was adding it that, it is majorly from the eyes of a developer also, that what he's going to test in that particular requirement. So he starts with that kind of, so if there is a function, he would test, write a use case for test this function. However, there is no function at all. So that test case will fail. The test case fails, then he or she will write a code basically to just pass that test case and not the complete functionality. And then he go for, it's like onion ways of planning. Similarly, onion ways of testing. Test the highest level first that, if the function is there. And then see A plus B is equal to C is the functionality. Then test the functionality. Since there are no variables defined like that. So it would reduce, again, say that, no, there's nothing, no variables are this defined. That's an error kind of, Then you will go ahead and define those variables. And that's how then it will get passed. So it's a reverse way of, so Karupe, you're absolutely right in saying that in TDD, we think the tests first. But the way we write TDD is from the aspects of a developer also. But that does not stop you from thinking from the tester's eyes. Definitely, that's the outer layer of any TDD, that what you want as a functionality. So TDD reduces your flab. And what Ravi was saying, the extra thing. Since TDD, a developer looks from the eyes of a tester also, that he writes only the code which is there to satisfy the test case. Otherwise, since I was also a developer, I generally say that developers are poets sitting beside a river, actually. Once an idea clicks, they generally go on coding kind of, and that's how they add the flab to that particular code. And many times when you do the sonar ways of checking or testing, generally the statement test, if you do actually, or branch, you actually check. So the coverage I have generally found, statement I have seen from, rarely about 10% to about 90% statement coverage. And some of the times branch coverage I also seen about 10% to somewhere around 80% or 70%. So that's the way to find out, if you really want to check the flab. So today's tools are really, really smart, and that also check the coverage, especially Sonar. So how much is the right coverage? Can you answer anyone, people here? How much is the coverage is good coverage, statement coverage or branch coverage in your own world if you actually tested? How much is you feel is good?
70 to 80%.
You're saying statement or branch?
Branch should be 100%.
Okay. What about others?
Depends on the
Thanks, Ravi.
system that is being developed. The reason could be is if you are working on a medical kind of a system or a satellite kind of system, then we might expect at least 90%. If you are depending on some of the systems, could be 70 to 80%.
Yeah. So definitely, Ravi, you answered it from your own perspective, or Karupi or others are answering from their own perspective. So it depends on the kind of software also. So we'll also discuss in the coming sessions about something called as combinatorial testing, the coverage and everything kind of, or automated way of this thing. So yes, it depends on, I have seen generally in some of the regular softwares about 70 to 80% of the branch coverage is good, and statement coverage of about 90% is generally fine, kind of. So that's what we see. But it depends on the way where it is being built, that particular software. Yeah. So Rahul, we were discussing about if you want to really check, how do we check? Especially the coverage, statement coverage or branch coverage. These days the tools are smart enough. So I was asking and people were answering about it. Yeah. So over to you.
Okay. Yeah. So let me move to the next slide. So more focus on the agile testing, right? Whatever we have discussed till now, right? What I feel and I believe that everything drilled down to 2 points. The first is Agile Manifesto, and second one is the Agile 12 principles. Right? So when we say the testing in Agile world, what is different? Probably same thing. You will also check conformance to requirement and something which is extra not desirable, and then you figure it out and then communicate back to the developers and in the reports and other stuff. But what differs between, or when we say agile testing, right? It's just about the mindset, and the mindset is directly coming from, if we have to change something, then change and implement the practices based on the agile. A couple of examples on this one. And normally developers and testers who are sitting next to each other, but if a defect is found, they probably will use the Jabber or same time or MS Teams to communicate a defect has been filed. You have to bring in face-to-face communication is the best way to communicate, or individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Many times I have seen that as well, that the defects which are found by testers, they log all the defects in the systems at the end of the day. In the reports, it will go, these many defects are open. So whenever a developer comes the next day, they will go, oh, so many defects. Yesterday when we went home, there were nothing, and so many defects suddenly, but all the defects were logged at the end. Why we cannot do something like a defect or something which is undesirable functionality is there? You call over the developers, say, is this the way, what is wrong in this one and other stuff, and then move forward. Whatever may be the reason, if the defect is there, then the developers will start working on it. And the time will be saved, right? Because it will be fixed faster. Rather than we are focusing on how many defects have been logged. The funny incident, but when I was in one of the healthcare organization, a new QA manager came in, and then they certainly, because when you have that kind of organization where testers will report to QA manager, they have their own set of metrics and KPIs and stuff. So the testers was telling us, the Scrum team, that I have been asked for the next iterations, how many defects I will be logging. And that's some funny question, right? And then this, my manager has requested this one, that how many defects I will be logging. So now if he gives some number, say 5 or 6, then he will have to log those many defects, whether the defects exist or doesn't exist. Probably then it will be matched whether what is the variance. You said 6 defects, you have logged 10 defects or 2 defects. If 6 is good, that's crazy, ridiculous. The different, unless something like we work as a team, and more focus is on defect prevention rather than defect detection, you won't be improving. So agile testing, I would say that more focus is on the defect prevention. So how that can be done? More focus on individuals and interaction. You talk to them. When, I think Ravi very clearly highlighted, from the start till when, till everything, till the project is there, they all are together. We all are together as a one team. If we work, then only this will happen. Otherwise, that's not going to happen. The focus has to be any points anybody would like to raise or any incidents. What is your experience with respect to individuals and interactions and other stuff? You're more focused on the processes and tools and then getting the numbers and showcase,
Yeah,
put
actually,
it into
the
numbers. And
number of defects should not be the criteria of judging the tester productivity. Rather than, I will say, that is how many test cases he has executed. And whether the number of defects, people are looking for, okay, senior manager, some of them is looking for, okay, how many defects he is raising as a, it may not or may not be the same number of defect will be always there. I don't know. Maybe some other people can say that is okay. What could be the productivity? How many test cases he has executed for this same code can be the one of the criteria. Maybe those test cases may be a fail or maybe a passed, and those information has to be goes to back to the developer. Okay, these many has been passed, and he has to address the cases where the test cases has been failed. Someone
See,
else can.
yeah. See, the productivity of a tester is based on the test authoring and test execution. But
Yeah.
what matters is also is the test efficiency. So basically, how many defects are getting captured and which are getting leaked to another system. So generally, typically speaking, one test case we expect only one defect. But sometimes the people can enter for each step. There could be one defect, and they might split one defect into two. They wanted to capture that they are able to capture so many defects to showcase them they are working effectively, but that's not how it should work.
Yes, you are right. Definitely, you are right.
So defect, whatever the defect we capture, right? Probably that defect leakage rate, right? How many defects are actually without detected went to production? That could be one of the aspect to identify that what is the quality software this has been released. Another aspect. That certainly. In the productivity terms, more focus would be on like we have a pair programming, right? We say the pairing also is another concept. Whether developers and QA, developers and BA and testers and UX, they work with each other. They understand the requirement. They see how it's been coded in other aspects. If we are talking about the cross-functional teams, right? Or T-shaped or the pie-shaped team, and even the developers will understand how this will be verified or tested, or even the testers will understand that okay, whether what is there in what will happen if the exceptions are there, whether those are captured and then proper messages has been provided, user-friendly messages. Those also would be another aspect.
There is a psychological aspect is also there in relationship between the tester and the developer. Okay, what's
Yes.
happened? The tester sometimes to show that is he is okay, finding more and more error. Even the slightest mistake which he should not be logged, and he should also think because whatever he is raising as a defect is impacting the developer, the person. He should also think, okay, what extent and how he should be okay. He should be raising the defect, so that ultimate at the end of a day, he has to think the relationship between the developer and tester goes hands in hand. It should not be pointing finger. Okay. So those aspects also should be taken. Okay, not so there's some silly mistake or something which is not considered to be you are raising a defect and pointing finger to this is a mistake. Can you fix this? Or he can tell off the line and okay, please in the next correction, please correct. These are some of the things. So psychological aspect is very, very important from the tester because it is impacting developer, and he has to maintain a relationship with good relationship with the developer. That's my one point. Just I want.
So
Uh,
I think Ravi absolutely made a very, very interesting point. Someone else is speaking. Please carry on.
Yeah, I'm Satya. So major
Yeah.
point could be is where how the interactions could improve is when a tester finds a defect, right? They try to just log it back to the tool and they wait for the developer to to fix the issue. But generally, that's where we lose a lot of time. So the collaboration will help to improve the basically the turnaround time. Even if they are looking for understand what the developer's point of view and what kind of data that was used for testing, right? If they use better collaboration, the purpose is to deliver a working software as early as possible, together, right, as a working as a single team. So if that
Yeah.
objective is kept in mind, then they will be able to collaborate and they will be able to deliver working product as early as possible.
Yeah. So Rahul, when I go to coach new teams or new organizations, what I generally check, what Ravi said is, I generally start with the introduction of the team. I know whose role is what, and if people are having a kind of pride in telling their role, then I sense some issues there. Then I go, the next thing I do is the very next day I go along with them, and have food with them on the dining table. I check how these people are actually sitting. That sitting arrangement tells me something. Sometimes I have also seen that testers are generally sitting on the different table. Developers are sitting generally on the different table. So that gives me, it is not the individual and interactions, but this is the process and tools. So the
Yeah.
process is in the minds of people, and the way they act is from the organization perspective, how the organization is made. Um, that gives me a lot of this thing, and then I move on with my coaching stuff that particularly. Once, very quick incident. Once it was very start of it. Two of the testers actually sipping coffee near the coffee machine, and then one of the testers was saying, they were speaking about a very prominent development guy in that particular big team of about 60 people, and multiple teams actually, and he was saying, this guy is very, very smart. He generally uses code so fast for testing, but I just took 15 minutes. I gave him 10 defects, and he was like, his face was like, oh my, and they was feeling pride about it. So I got I got where I need to work on.
So because the responsibility is, they have the boundaries, they have set up. Oh, this is my responsibilities and this is my circle. Nobody should cross this one. I will verify once everything is done. I'm not ready to verify partially delivered story. No, everything should be there. Then only will touch. If it is on a particular environment, then only I will. Those are the boundaries we have set up. Unless everybody, the team feels that this is my responsibility, quality is my responsibility, our responsibility, this won't progress. So I was in one of the conference, and then the person talked about that, okay, you might see the silos, right? Some of the example Vijay just gave, that okay, developers are different and QA. He said, do some activities, team activities. And then he showed us actually in that conference, he did some team activities. He said, okay, capture photos and other stuff. So there were a few people who were working together. They were not knowing each other in the conference only. And then they captured photo, and then they did the two activities. And said, okay, now again, we would like to capture the photo. And he captured the photo again. And there was a bit difference. What was the difference? In the first photo, the people were having social distance. I mean to say, okay, they were not knowing each other. So they were not standing next to each other. They were having some distance. But after two activities, team activities, they understand each other. They were talking to each other. They played together, some fun games and other stuff. When the photo was captured, it was clearly visible that they came closer. So if that happens, right, I think the team activity also certainly would make, we work as a one team. And I think the three signs of a miserable job, right? Patrick Lencioni, he also said that anonymity Am I audible now?
We lost you for a while.
Yeah, we can
Post
hear now.
post you
Okay.
said anonymity. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was saying the Three Signs of a Miserable Job by the book by Patrick Lencioni. He said the anonymity. We don't know each other. So there would be always some distance between people in a team, even developers and developers as well. So one way to do this one is talk to each other, do something more.
Rahul, I might want to add actually, I don't know. See, earlier
Yes,
times, earlier times, if you look into the development used to be done by one company and the testing used to be done by another company. So the objectives, the goals, and the vision of a particular product or the particular project used to have their own dependent structures. You see, the organization structure is very, very important. So that is the reason nowadays agile teams, they say that the agile both development and testing is part of same pod team. So that because that can drive the synergies. If they are part of separate team, their estimation is different. So basically they wanted to safeguard themselves. So that's the reason they try to embed so many additional defects, so that they say, yeah, we are able to capture as many defects like that. So they wanted to protect their own function. So now those functions will move away when we go into the agile ways of working.
yeah, very true. Something like the organizations were feeling that, okay, if is only one organization, how we can trust them? They were more worried on paper on the quality aspect. No, we need someone else. But then there will be silos, right? Each they will try to make sure that we are doing good work. So I think Vijay mentioned, right? Yeah, I found so many defects in this one and other stuff. That aspect will come into picture. I let me share one more stuff. When I think Cognizant or one of the services based company where it was something like a phases, right? A development is completed and now everything is given to testers, to QA. And I remember QA manager used to say, he said, let's work on weekend. They used to come on the first when the delivery happened, right? They will come on Saturday and Sunday, and we'll make sure there are so many defects, so many high critical priority defects are there. Then on the Monday morning, their target was they should be coming in the next weekend, because we came this weekend. All the developers should come next weekend to fix defects. If that is the culture or the ways of working, then it's not going to get any success on this one. Even the agile testing, more focus is on the working software. We want to make sure the demo happens, right? So something which is demoable, that means it is working and verified. So that should be the target rather than keep delaying the stuff. On bugs as well, I remember something that when I was in one of the company which had Jira as a tool. So there is no direct linkage between user story and defect. And then somebody had raised a case with their team that, okay, we certainly want this kind of functionality. And then they said, no, this is not the way we should be doing. See, normally the best way to do is in the iteration or in the sprint, there is no need to log defects. Like in the system, you need not go and log the defects because still it is internally, right? What you need to make sure is if there are any defects which are not fixed, those defects you log. Why? Because if you log defect, right, that's a very big waste actually. You log a defect, it has to be reported. Then developers will make check-ins and other stuff. Again, it will go back to the testers for verifications and the regression and closure, and so many things will be there. So the reason what the agile coach, enterprise agile coach gave at that time is we want to reduce the waste. Why we cannot? I think Ravi already highlighted this in whatever he said earlier. That yeah, there is no need to explicitly log defects. If it is required, fine. Otherwise, you come to developers desk and find out, okay, these are the issues which should be fixed before it can be passed to the next level. So that certainly can be done as well. At the same time, let's look at like agile testing mindset, right? Just follow the agile principles. What we are looking for, sustainable delivery. Otherwise, SDLC, I know that, okay, there is not enough time. And then we have to complete the QA or testing during this time frame, and everybody will say, okay, it will be done. And then QA did it. But then, do you think that the quality will be as good as if they had got more time to verify and everything? Probably no. Business and development should be working together. Vijay, can you share something? I think my net is bit having some issues. So let me
You are
switch
audible
if possible.
very well enough now. You're
Okay.
very well audible.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so we talked about business and development working together, right?
Yeah.
When should start involvement? When the testers from the start, and they should be working daily. That's the way it should progress.
Yeah. I would like to extend this also. Whenever I worked into so many organizations as enterprise coach for business agility at organization, or even lean. Many a times when I asked CEOs or the head of the organizations that I need somebody, a Spock, I would kind of report to, I would kind of convey my messages, or I would convince, and then he or she would be able to implement it across the organization or help me. So many of the folks, they generally gave me contact of the person who was like process manager. So imagine the people who are process managers. I won't say that they're bad or good or something like that. I'd say that they're generally of a mindset of a typical hard-coded process. Now, if an agile coach or agile personality actually reports to someone who is owning the process, if the person is not really open-minded or agile mindset having, then it really becomes difficult. So it's an organizational setup also. So as you said, the organizational, how the business actually was, so that those interactions are really, really important at the top. It's not just at the bottom, it's at the top. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
I think I agree with Vijay. I think most of us, agile coach faces like this. And usually it happens when the transformation doesn't happen from the top. It is started at the middle level or something, and the senior management is not much bother about. Okay, it requires a senior management level training. How's the transformation on the agile or the business transformation or whatever the digital transformation will take place at the different level, the senior management, middle level, and the lower level. All three requires to go through a training, and they should believe, okay, what they are expecting and how the changes are going to be, will be there, and how it is going to impact the business, what are the revenue they are going to have, what is their goals from the 1 year or 2 years or 3 or 5 years are there. So everyone is aligned with. If the people are not aligned, then we as an agile coach get into a big trouble. Because we have to first not only think, first our thing is like how to make them aligned, what organization is thinking of. We need to train them and then try to get. But if the organization from the top, they have taken care of this, they have trained all those people who are going to be the part of a transformation and working closely with us, then our job will become simpler. I just want to add to what Vijay has said.
Yep. Very true.
Go ahead, Rahul.
Yeah. So uh, based on looking at the time as well. So if we look at any of the principle, right, you have to make sure that the involvement of the whole team should be there. The amount of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. Whatever is required, that has to be done. No gold plated, no extra work. like we are actually looking at whatever the minimal work we should be doing, which will satisfy the customer need. And then once that one is done, then we move forward. Frequent delivery, or even talking about the face-to-face communication. You have to break silos, right? Rather than the requirements flowing from document from one person to another, and then the people are not available to get their queries resolved, or even the developers and testers not talking to each other. It's not going to work. More focus should be on the organizing teams, creating self-organizing teams or self-managing team and working for this one. Even the retrospective, right? At regular interval, you will reflect and then we'll come to know what happened, what we had planned, and then where we are right now, why it is not working. So if we consider those aspects, certainly Agile Manifesto and then values and principles, that is the key in the testing in Agile world. I just want to cover one more topic on the shift left testing. You might have heard about that one, that shift left. So whatever we are going to do in the future, we move shift left. So that means we have to do it earlier to make sure that the defects are captured early, fixed early, and then we save time. That's the way it should be moved. Now let's open up for the real world challenges. What are the challenges or the questions you face on this one? What are your challenges you have faced in from testers if you are a developer, or as a testers, what challenges you are facing? Ravi and Vijay already shared something as an agile coach. What are the challenges and how do you work with them? But let's move on some other challenges as well.
The build being delivered at the last stage of testing, like if it's a 15 days, 3 weeks sprint, we are getting at the 10th or 12th day to test.
The waterfall in Agile, right?
Yes.
Developers don't want to do the testing.
Yes.
Yeah, the most of the stories are being completed only on the last 3 days or 4 days. And in the beginning, there is a slow. When the pressure comes, you will find that most of the stories are being delivered in the last 2-3 days.
Like QA team is underloaded at the beginning and overloaded at the end, and it's reverse for the development team.
I found it is some kind of a people are a little bit relaxed during the beginning, even after the capacity is being taken care. Some kind of a mindset, I will say. If you are delivering some kind of a self-disciplines are there. As per the schedule, every 2 days or 3 days, you are doing it, start delivering it, stories, not at the end. Don't keep it something, some kind of self-discipline, I will ask.
No, that could be also, even we have to look into the story side. The stories are created such a way that, they are fitted into at least a 3 weeks duration or 2 weeks duration. So they are not simple enough or small enough so that can be start delivering.
Very true.
Yes, you are right. But most of the time I have seen that mostly it is coming the last 3-4 days of a sprint. The stories are being delivered.
Yeah, one of the reasons is the sizing.
There is a collaboration required across the team members. Someone is not available, someone is working. Requires some kind of a more planning. That's the reason what I think that is the most of these stories are being delivered at the last 3-4 days of a sprint. Because sometimes one story require inputs from the others and they are testing it and those kind of stuff. But if the spread is across the, it will be better. But again, the pressure comes at the end of a sprint on the developer and the tester. Maybe other people may be having a different opinion. That's what I have seen.
The biggest question which is not highlighted anywhere when I go for any level of coaching, majority of the times it is at the middle management level also. Nobody speaks about it.
Yeah.
With the advent of agility, what is happening? There was a testers community who was really proud about what they do. Way back, say 5 years back or 10 years back, the majority of the work that we used to get in India or any developing country from the developed country where the software is actually built, majority of the part was testing. Some of the organizations
Yes.
really started around testing.
Yes, yes, yes.
And now testers are actually, missing the privilege that being called a so-called tester. The word is getting abolished in this software industry, and many a times that I see on their faces when I actually talk to those people, they don't really speak about it. But this is the biggest challenge that I generally face in organizations.
So
Yeah.
just to add, actually, earlier when I was working Wipro, there used to be a separate organization for QA. And
Yeah.
at that time, almost 10 years back, now they don't want to make it as a separate organization. They have told that their tester role will be redundant and there won't be any specific function which will contain as a testing unit. It is only as it became as a little competency, but that is the how otherwise organizations are marked as a testing or a QA organizations which they wanted to remove.
Yeah. So I think we have been doing those changes in the organization sometimes without addressing the core problem of, what do a tester feels, because many testers, they generally come from a mindset that I would be tester, I would do ISTQB testing certification and what's not, all this certification testing. And nowadays, if you actually see in the agility world, kind of, there is no specific certification or testing. So if you actually see them, they don't really belong here. Some of them, I'm saying, some of them they don't really belong there. So there has to be organized approach to onboard people around with this new mentality, and that has not been done majority of the times, and that's what is a challenge that I told you that needs to be taken care of here.